to the official Heisman Trophy podcast.
Chuck Conrad with a kickoff. Roy has a strong leg, end over end. Sanders takes it 1 yard deep in the end zone. Up the middle, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. He's at the 40, he's at 45, 50, 45, 40, 31, 30, 45, 40, 50, 10, 5, touchdown. Just like last year, a clean start.
Here's your host, Chris Houston.
Welcome to episode 7 of season 3 of the Heisman Trophy podcast. We are just finishing the 5th week of the college football season. This past weekend was a magnificent one. There were so many great games being played and so many memorable moments. I mean, when I think back to this weekend, I'm going to think about all those students rushing the field when Virginia beat Florida State. Dylan Thieneman grabbing that interception to secure Oregon's double overtime victory over Penn State in Happy Valley. Could this be the Ducks' year? Then you've got Ole Miss beating LSU in Oxford. Trinidad Chambliss once again having a great game. Alabama beats Georgia in Athens. Are the Tide back? And then there's Illinois, all but left for dead after getting beat by Indiana 63-10 the week before. They battened down the hatches and beat USC on a last-second field goal. And they needed a field goal to win because of our guest on this week's episode of the Heisman Trophy podcast, USC quarterback Jayden Maiava. We'll also talk to USCFootball.com editor Ryan Abraham to give us the full scoop on what's happening at USC. Okay, before we get to Jayden, let's do a little check-in on the Heisman race. These are my 5 players who I think, as it stands right now and based on what I know, have the best chance to actually win the Heisman at the end of the season. Remember, this is my opinion and not the opinion of the Heisman Trust. At number 5, we have Ty Simpson, quarterback of Alabama. He seems to have really found his groove lately, and he could project out to have a really nice season. At number 4, John Mateer of Oklahoma, and this is a little bit of an asterisk because it depends entirely upon him only missing one game. If he can get back against Texas, I think he can miss a game and still finish out the season as a potential Heisman winner. Number 3, the aforementioned Jayden Maiava of USC. Of course, it depends on USC winning around 9 to 10 games, but USC has an elite offense, and that means he's going to put up big numbers. Number 2, Fernando Mendoza of Indiana. He has become a highly talked about player of late. His production is great, and his team is really good. The last Hoosier to challenge for the Heisman was Anthony Thompson in 1989. And the player leading what I think is actually a very wide open Heisman race, Oregon quarterback Dante Moore.
This is Archie Griffin, 1974, 1975's Heisman Trophy winner, and you're listening to the official Heisman podcast.
The Heisman is handed out every December, but the history of the trophy lives year-round at Heisman.com. Home to the most iconic trophy in sports, Heisman.com tells the story of all 90 of our winners and features news, bios, and statistics on all your favorite Heisman heroes. Heisman.com also highlights our Heisman humanitarians, the many charities supported by the Heisman Trust, and so much more. Make Heisman.com your first stop for all things Heisman. Up until this past Saturday, USC quarterback Jayden Maiava was leading the nation in passing efficiency. And then he threw for 364 yards with 2 touchdowns against Illinois, only for his team to lose on a last-second field goal. Through 5 games for the 4-1 Trojans, Maiava has thrown for 1,587 yards. He has completed 71% of his passes, 11 touchdowns, just 1 interception, and he has also rushed for 4 touchdowns. And despite the tough loss, he was gracious enough to talk to us this past Monday night after practice. So let's get to it. Jayden Maiava, thanks for coming on the Heisman Trophy podcast. I know it's not easy to come on a show like this after a tough loss, so I really appreciate it. How you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. Super excited. Can't wait. Big week coming up next week. So, yeah.
You know, if there's one word I would use to describe you, it's resilient. You have a habit of bringing your team back when it's down. Even though you guys didn't get the W against Illinois, you still brought them back and gave them a chance to win. It's like you have ice in your veins in those situations. So why do you think you play especially well when your team needs to rally like you did last Saturday?
Honestly, it's just the practice that we've put in, the reps that, we just, took very value, how valuable every single rep is, just able to, steal a rep when I can, mentally or physically out there doing it. I can just anything that I could do to, put myself in those scenarios to just go out there and just, keep firing, because
Yeah.
obviously I did throw a pick, which I definitely want back. But, the team just rallied around and, they encouraged me. They came, said what's up to me and just keep firing. And so that's exactly what I did. They trusted in me. I trusted in them. So, yeah, I mean, definitely disappointing loss, but.
In that situation, does your head get clearer? Do you calm down more? Do you feel like maybe the need to calm down your teammates makes you calm? How do you explain being in that situation?
Yeah, I think when we're in that situation, obviously a little adversity that we're facing. But I think the biggest emphasis that I try to get to the teammates was just executing routine plays and just doing what we've been practicing and what we've been doing leading up to this moment. People sometimes just get caught up in the moment. So I think this team has just had like offensively and defensively just been doing such a great job. So.
Yeah. You hit some pretty incredible throws on Saturday, especially to Makai Lemon.
Yeah.
Set the scene for me for that go-ahead touchdown you threw in the fourth quarter to him. Was the play always going to him, or did you have the option to throw his way? To kind of set the scene for me. Tell me what was going on.
Yeah. So going to that specific play, it was like a play action fake. We had worked different looks into it. The look that I was getting, that I was presented out there, was a look that I wanted to get our single receiver to Nook Hines the ball. But the safety was kind of floating over there and presence that a little bit to help out that corner on that side. And I think we were on the right hash at the time, and Lam's on the left side. So with all that roam on the inside fade for him, it's just his routes on air, just being able to go out there and execute. And somebody like him, he's always going to come down with the ball.
Yeah. Can you do that play without having an incredible chemistry and connection with the receiver?
It'll be tough, but I think definitely it's just like you said, just having a chemistry that me and Lim and all these receivers and really just this team chemistry that we all have around us. It takes us long ways, and it just brings out the resilience and the trust in one another. So.
Yeah. Well, you've been outstanding through 5 games, 1,587 yards, 11 touchdown passes, just one interception, just the one, 71% completion. You've drastically cut down on your turnovers from last year, improved your completion rate. Those had to be some goals you had coming into the season, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I think that was the biggest thing. Just obviously, just getting my feet wet a little bit at the back end of the season. Obviously, I didn't play the way I wanted to, but I think it was a great learning experience for me and just the guys that I had around me. So I think going into the off season, it was just all about taking care of the ball and not giving the defense a slight chance to even make a play on the ball whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's just been the biggest thing. So,
yeah. How would you grade your performance so far this season?
This season, I'll probably say a C plus.
You're hard on yourself, huh?
Just a little bit. But yeah, I think I say that because there's definitely throws that I want back, decisions that I've made that I want back, and I say that also with like the leadership aspect of it. I feel like I could be better vocally, and just making the team hear my voice and feel my presence in terms of bringing the energy.
Mm-hmm.
Staying consistent with that. So I think not even just my play, but me as a teammate, and the character.
Are you naturally an introvert, would you say?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it's kind of hard to become vocal and you prefer to lead by example, I guess, huh?
Yeah, no doubt. I definitely love leading by example. I definitely trying to get better at. I'm never going to tell a person to do something that I'm not doing myself. So
right.
I think that's just
You are a Lincoln Riley quarterback, which is an esteemed position in college football history. 3 Heisman Trophy winners, another Heisman runner-up, incredible offenses. What's it like being a Lincoln Riley quarterback?
It's awesome. It's super fun. Obviously just getting us like each and every week, just the plays that he comes up with and, just being able to see the versatility in his play calling and, just the creativity that he does and, everything just, I don't know if it's just me, but playing under Lincoln Riley it makes playing QB a lot easier because of how just such a great coach that he is. It does a lot for me. So I think the biggest thing out there and that he tries to emphasize is just being decisive and doing my job the best I can and stack the winning plays as much as I
Yeah.
can.
You mentioned it being easier. What part of quarterbacking is still kind of hard, and how are you dealing with it?
Definitely during the play, because you never know like what could happen within a
Mm-hmm.
play. A lot can happen. I kind of go in it like expecting nothing but being prepared for anything. So Coach Riley and the staff just do such a great job and, helping us prepare for whatever is to happen. They do such a great job during practice, like putting us in different situations. So I think when it comes to that time, it's just sinking back to the level of our
Mm-hmm.
training and what we've been practicing. So.
Yeah, like we mentioned, it was a tough loss, but there's a lot of football to be played. Of course, a big home game coming up against Michigan a couple Saturdays from now. What is the mood like with the team right now? I know it's, probably still recovering, but what are you guys working on to bounce back in a big way? At least mentally, what are you guys telling each other before you go out to, to work on Tuesday?
Yeah, right now, I mean, before the season started, we all have been talking about how close this team was. And obviously we've had a little bit of success, and we've been winning games a little bit in the beginning of the season, and we just experienced our first loss together. So, I think like being how close we are really speaks for itself in terms of like just coming together even more and building that camaraderie even stronger. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the biggest thing right now for us. I mean, obviously it's disappointing, and what stands out to me is not just the players that played feel the loss, but the players that haven't really played feel the loss as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I mean, that's just the brotherhood that we have. That each and every person on this team doesn't want to see a person down at all. So I think
Yeah.
that's what I love about this team.
Do you guys talk about the fact that now they're in it was a 12-team playoff? Obviously, one of the goals is to get to the playoff. And last year, the team that won the national championship had 2 losses. So this doesn't change anything. You guys are still right there. Are you guys talking about that? About how that's a different thing compared to maybe when you started playing college football?
I'm not sure if we talk about it a lot that much. Honestly, we just kind of just try to attack each and every day, one day at a time, and just have a 1 week season in terms of focusing on what we can control, and that's our mindset every single day to attack how we want to attack it.
Yeah. You're the first Polynesian to start at quarterback for USC. What does it mean for you to be in this position, to be a role model, and to have the success that you've had?
Yeah, it means a lot. Definitely a lot to learn from, a lot to build off of. I'm excited. I can't wait to, just to continue to learn and wake up every day to be able to be coached by Lincoln Riley, Coach Eward, and all those guys. Be around like people like Katie Ryan and Eric and just my teammates and the brothers that I've built on this team. It's just, I'm super grateful and blessed just to be in the position that I am in.
There have been a ton of great players from your home state of Hawaii. Who are some of your favorites?
Definitely Tua Tagovailoa, Marcus Mariota for sure. Colt Brennan,
No, he was good.
yeah, he was a good one. Manti Te'o,
Mm-hmm.
all those guys was really so. Yeah,
Of course, Marcus Mariota is the only Hawaii player to win a Heisman. Have you ever met or talked to him?
I don't think no, I haven't talked to him. But the crazy thing, I've worked out with him. I worked out with him, but like it was all just working out.
Yeah,
So
you guys were just next to each other working out and didn't talk. Very focused, huh?
like 6 inches away from each other, but we weren't really talking. I was just kind of just sitting back, observing, and just how he carries himself, and in
Were
terms of.
you were you a pretty young kid then, or were
Yeah,
you?
I think I was. I want to say I was in freshman in high school. I just had started playing quarterback, so I was. And this is when he's just doing prime time and in the
Sure.
NFL. So
Was it a little intimidating to be next to someone who was like this amazing player? You
yeah, I
like
was
you
a
didn't.
little starstruck. My palms were sweaty. I was. It was crazy, but
Yeah.
yeah.
What's something people on the mainland often miss about Hawaii athletes?
Mm. Our competitiveness and just our resiliency and
Hmm.
how resilient we are, and how we'll never give up, and just keep on going.
Yeah. When you close your eyes and you think home, what
Yeah.
part of Hawaii shows up first in your brain?
Um, Palo Valley, for sure. It's a little valley in the mountains in the back of right there by Kyle Crater Mountain, right behind Waikiki.
Mm-hmm.
No
Is
doubt.
that some place you used to go a lot just to hang out?
Yeah, no doubt. That's kind of where I grew up at, and I've been around those guys every single day, and it's a true scenery for sure.
Who do you call after a great game or after a bad one?
Who do I call?
Yeah.
I don't think I call anybody, to be honest.
No. You
No,
don't have a ritual, someone you talk to go over the game?
Coach Riley, Coach Hewitt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are
Yeah.
guys. Kind of, we just just some key takeaways from the game.
Yeah. If a young kid from Hawaii asked you for one piece of advice about leaving home to play college football, what would you tell them?
It's a leap of faith. Just go out there and never give up. Always just do you and be who you are, and never forget where you came from.
What's a talent you have that very few people know about?
Oh, I can juggle.
Really?
Yeah, I can juggle like 4 balls at one time.
No way. Did
Yeah.
you teach that yourself, or did you go to a circus school?
I taught it myself, actually.
Wow. How long did that take?
It took a minute, I'm not gonna lie, but I got it down pretty good.
So, like, if you had 4 balls right now, you could juggle 4 balls.
Probably, yeah. It's been a long time, but so I'll try my best for sure.
And you haven't had any thought about going for 5? Just you're sticking with 4.
Yeah, I haven't got there yet.
Okay. All right. Finally, if you weren't playing football, Jayden, what do you think you'd be doing with your life?
Oh, that's a great question. I'll probably say just putting smiles on people's faces.
That was Jayden Maiava of the University of Southern California. Having a great season so far. I'm sure USC will bounce back after that tough loss to Illinois. Let me tell you, it can't be easy coming on a show like this after a tough loss like that. So kudos to Jayden. He is a class individual for sure. Great quarterback, too. If this is your first time here and you've enjoyed what you've heard so far, please give us a like or subscribe or maybe review. We appreciate it. You can also see video versions of the show and full interviews over on YouTube and TikTok. And if you really want to talk about things, go over to our Reddit page.
Hey guys, this is Barry Sanders, the 1988 Heisman Trophy winner, and you are listening to the official Heisman Trophy podcast.
Ryan Abraham is the publisher of USCFootball.com, a premier place to talk USC football. He is a member of the Football Writers Association. You would know Ryan because because of his name, he's always the first person on the list. So he's like the very first person listed in the Football Writers Association directory, and he's also a Heisman voter. So welcome to the Heisman Trophy podcast, Ryan.
Thanks for having me on, Chris. I think I might be number 2 in the Heisman vote because they're like numbered. Maybe I'm 1 now, but I was 2 at some point. So someone has a better A name than I have, I guess.
Do you have a middle name that we can like switch to your first name, maybe?
David, if you like. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe you could be David. I bet you David Abraham would put you back in the lead for the Heisman list. Hey, listen, so we just talked to Jayden Maiava earlier in the program, and I just thought it would be great to get a USC perspective on what kind of quarterback he has been from the perspective of USC media, USC fans, and also your thoughts on where you think he's going to go.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see his sort of growth and development, and I think we don't talk about development enough in this sport because the guys do get developed. There are guys that he was really good when he was at UNLV, but there were certainly a lot of places where he could grow, and then to get thrust in last season in the last 4 games and have some really high highs and some really low lows. I think a lot of USC fans were sort of like, I don't know if this is the guy. Maybe they're going to go into the portal. And, Lincoln Riley knows quarterbacks, and I think the fact that he didn't go into the portal and try to bring somebody in, he had a lot of confidence in Jayden Maiava that he could develop in the offseason, and having months and months to work with the team as the number one guy and then be able to lead this program. And so far, I think he's done a really nice job. He looks like a different quarterback to me, Chris, than what I saw the end of last year. To have, he had one turnover in the Illinois game, but that is only turnover of the season. He had 7 in the last 4 games, including 2 like field long pick sixes against Notre Dame. He just doesn't seem to put the ball in harm's way as much. And I think seeing the touchdown field, like he just hit some guys in stride with Jacoby Lane and Mekhi Lemon. He seems to put the ball in a place where those guys who are really elite wide receivers can catch it. And I think some of the screen passes, which traditionally at USC, sometimes even when you've had good quarterbacks, the timing didn't seem to work well. It's working pretty well, I think, when he's distributing the football. And he can take off and run too. And some of the fakes I think have been good when you're doing the RPOs. And I think a couple weeks ago when they went for it on 4th down 4 times and got them all, he looked really smooth in all of them. Sometimes a 4th down play looks like a fire drill. You're like scrambling what's going on. It looked like, here's the play call. This is what we're going to run. He executed it, and they picked up the first down easily on all those. So he seems to just have a much more command of what's going on. And I think he's grown a lot. If you watch him last year to this year, he's definitely advanced. And the fact that, he can still have some really spectacular plays and not put the ball in harm's way, nowhere near as much as he did last year, I think it's a sign of his growth.
Yeah, he had some big time throws against Illinois, especially that last touchdown to Mekhi Lemon, just a ice cold killer type of throw. He's developed a penchant for bringing the team back. He did it again against Illinois. Of course, they didn't get the win, but that really wasn't his fault necessarily. No. You look at his season: 1,587 yards, 71% completion, 11 touchdowns, 1 interception, another 4 touchdowns on the ground. If you had asked Trojan fans before the season, through 5 games, whether that would be something that Jayden Maiava was capable of, what do you think that the percentage who would have agreed with that would have been?
I think the numbers they would have been okay with. The only 1 interception and no fumbles, I don't think they would have been like, yeah, that's really not going to happen. We knew he was going to turn the ball over eventually. But through 4 games,
they all do, right? They all do.
You're vets, and Brett Favre, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, most interceptions in NFL history, right? Yeah. I think it's one of those things, or maybe it's Tom Brady now, I'm not sure, but whoever it is, like,
well, he played 100 years, so he's probably going to have it.
You're going to put the ball in harm's way eventually, and if you're not, you're probably doing something wrong. But you don't want to be. He's just nowhere near as loose with the football. I think in the Illinois game, he just didn't see that linebacker underneath and kind of threw it to him. But that's going to happen sometimes. I think USC fans would certainly take what you've seen from him. It's just been, the numbers have been great. The offense, it's like, if you want to judge it, how good an offense is, do they punt? USC offense doesn't really punt that much. So it's
one punt against Illinois, right?
Yeah, 1 punt against Illinois. The previous 4 games they had, they had 1 garbage time punt. They only punted in like 1 game. They punted like 3 times in the Georgia Southern game. Outside of that, there was a garbage punt against Michigan State, and that's it. So if you're not punting and not turning the ball over that much, that's usually a pretty good sign. Like Purdue, they stalled in the red zone and had like 5 field goal attempts, but it's not a team that goes out there and punts all the time. They're not playing field position. It's just hard to stop. And I think without him running the show, I don't know if they would be. He's just really kind of grown as a quarterback and works in the confines of Lincoln Riley's offense.
Yeah, there's been 3 Lincoln Riley starting quarterbacks at USC: Caleb Williams, Miller Moss, and now Jayden Maiava. Between the 2, I guess, who preceded him, which of the 2 would you say he tends to ebb closer to? Because he doesn't seem to have the creativity of Caleb Williams back in the pocket. I mean, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe he plays more within the system, and yet he also seems to have a little bit more magic than Miller Moss had back there.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. There's, he gets outside the pocket sometimes, and he can do all right. But there's one of the things when Caleb Williams, he would get outside the pocket, and you're finding guys downfield. I think Sam Darnold had some of that too, where you can be creative. We're seeing, I think he's doing a pretty good job of that. But there is some creativity, but I think it's a different brand than Caleb Williams had, where that was just magic. And sometimes you weren't sure. It's like, no. Yes. One of those things. But certainly there's more creativity than Miller Moss. But I think he does try to operate the offense in the, try to, within the confines of things. And here's your first read, here's the second read, and kind of go from there. So I think maybe a little bit of a combination of the two, but he's doing a nice job. And some of the touch on some of those throws is just, maybe you weren't like kind of expecting that. And
Right.
I'd like to see him, maybe run a little bit more. They brought in Husan Longstreet to do a couple of those in the Illinois game. I think he's certainly capable of doing that. Maybe they're just being a little more protective, but I mean, he can scramble a little bit and pick up yards with his legs. And he's picked up some key third and fourth downs so far, but I think they could actually do that even a little bit more.
Yeah, one thing I've been trying to figure out, look, he's a Lincoln Riley quarterback. Lincoln Riley quarterbacks have had a tremendous historical success. You have 3 Heisman Trophy winners, Heisman runner-up, another guy who maybe didn't completely pan out in college, but he's sticking in the NFL. And now, and then Miller Moss was really the only one who didn't achieve like just this resounding success, at USC or at the school that Lincoln Riley was at, coaching him. And yet, so we have Maiava, who is 3rd in the nation in passing efficiency. He was leading the nation in passing efficiency before the Illinois game, still very high in his numbers. Tremendous start to the season. And yet, there seems to be very muted opinions about him. But yet he's a Lincoln Riley quarterback who quarterbacks USC, and yet he seems to be sort of in the recesses of the conversation on the national scale. And why do you think that is, despite all those other advantages that he has to go working for him?
Yeah, you know that USC does have advantages. If you're the quarterback of USC and you're winning, I think the national media had sort of a, they were a wait and see attitude because USC had been bad the last couple of years, 13-11 in the regular season. And they've been typically one of the more overranked preseason AP poll teams, and they weren't ranked in the preseason. It took them to go, 3-0 or 4-0 before they end up getting, ranked in the AP, and then they dropped out after losing, on a last-second field goal to Illinois. I think if more people had faith in the team, that they were like, hey, this team has actually turned a corner, and then I think that would probably come along, and you have more faith in Jayden Maiava. But if he can keep putting up those numbers, and if you can beat Michigan in a couple of weeks and get a road win at a Nebraska, I think that's going to help. And then they have a couple of really tough games at Oregon and at Notre Dame. And the Notre Dame game can always be something for, getting a boost, where if USC goes and loses that game on the road, but Maiava just balls out and he's just playing really well, I think that'll help them. But it's almost like a wait and see sort of attitude, just kind of like the team. They're like, we think they could be good, but let's see if, what really happens. USC lost that game, but it wasn't Jayden Maiava's fault. I mean, he played really well and moved the
342 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. It seems like he wouldn't be penalized too much. I mean, you're a Heisman voter. If you're going back and looking at that game, you're like, okay, he didn't, crap the bed, so to speak. So he played pretty well. Do you think that's something that most Heisman voters will understand as they're looking at his resume, if it comes down to that?
Yeah, I think you have to have the wins, though. I don't think if this is like a 7-5 team and he has like ridiculous numbers, I mean, they would have to be like really ridiculous. I think he's going to have really good numbers, but you need to have, if it's like a 9-3 and you're sort of like in the playoff discussion, I think he would be up there. But many times it's going to go to, the 11-1 team, and the guy's a stud and putting up a lot of stuff. So I think he will. I think USC does have to win games, though, for him to be sort of in that kind of conversation. He's also kind of a, he's not the most boisterous guy. He's kind of a quiet guy. Mm-hmm. Some of the answers in the media have been sort of short lately. I think he's someone that can be very hard on himself, very critical. And I think he's trying to focus more on play than like playing the media game. And other quarterbacks are just really good at like talking to everyone and just engaging. Caleb Williams, you could listen to him talk for a long time. Yeah. That's not, at least right now, in this early stages of Jayden Maiava being like the number one guy, he's more of a muted approach. And I don't know, that might have an effect on it too.
Well, certainly sometimes when you get a case with someone who is maybe not a great talker, the process of being in the Heisman race actually ends up making them a pretty good talker by the end. Carson Palmer was a guy who didn't talk very well throughout most of his career, or at least didn't really like talking very much. But as he kept doing it more and more, you keep getting the reps, you end up getting better and better. So maybe that will be the case for him. So anyway, tough loss for the Trojans at the Illini. What was the mood like after the game, particularly with the offense and Maiava? And what did you What were you able to gather maybe from a lot of the nonverbal communication going on?
Yeah, we get to see some of the coaches leaving the press box, because when we're coming down and, just very quiet, I think upset, just, I feel like I think they knew that they missed an opportunity in this game. Illinois was going to come back and circle the wagons after getting absolutely boat raced by Indiana. And I think it was up to USC to not allow that to happen, to not get punched in the mouth. And I think they, there's some built-in excuses with the 9 a.m. local, the body clock time, and Kamari Ramsey, your best defender, getting sick and not being able to play at the last minute. They're, your center
played a lot of freshmen in the secondary, right?
Yeah, but they were a team that was getting after the quarterback, and they weren't able to get pressure against the offensive line that gave up 9 sacks to Indiana the week before, to only get 1. So I think some of it was like, hey, everything didn't go exactly the way we planned, but you have to know that this is going to be a situation that going into the season, a top 10 road win was going to be tough to get. But then seeing what happened the week before, I think they all realized like this was a real opportunity, and then just kind of go out and blew it. So I think some of them know that like we blew a real big opportunity here. They had a lot of confidence, Chris, in the offseason about everything they did to try to improve this program. Unfortunately, that looked a lot like what you'd seen last year when they were on the road in the Big Ten. And I think that's what they wanted to avoid more than anything. And it slapped them right in the face.
Well, Ryan, do you think, you look at what Illinois did against Indiana, and you can maybe chalk it up to a couple things. Illinois having they're on the road. Indiana's at home. Teams play better on the road, or worse on the road, better at home. And so now Illinois is back at home, backs against the wall. Everyone saying how poorly they did. Very embarrassing loss. So their backs against the wall. USC, like you said, comes with a little bit crazy time schedule, and they're not as good on the road. Was the outcome of the game the result of Illinois being better at home, or just that USC's not so good on the road, or both?
I think it's a combination. I mean, I think Brett Bielema is a tough coach, and he's never lost a game like that. And to get pushed around, I think he really challenged a veteran offensive line that everyone came back, and they were giving up sacks to everybody, FCS schools. And USC was leading the nation in sacks. Illinois, no one, as Power 4 teams, no one had given up more sacks than Illinois had. So I think that was like hey, we're going to change this. And I couldn't figure out why that offensive line that was good last year, that blocked like South Carolina in the bowl game, and they have a bunch of defensive linemen that are NFL type of players, why they were sort of bad. But I think they got nasty in this one, Chris. I think they took this to heart. It was a chip on their shoulder thing, and they just pushed USC around. And none of the defensive linemen for USC were hurt. They were playing well. Came in there and kind of got punched in the mouth, and then didn't have a plan anymore. And I give props to Illinois for doing that, but I think USC needed to be better prepared. Some things went wrong for sure, but this was a team. You came in as a touchdown favorite for a reason. And you were trailing the whole game. It was a miracle that they got. I mean, for them to get a 1-point lead, 2 minutes left in the game was crazy. But I think they got punched in the mouth and didn't really have an answer.
Yeah, that sounds pretty valid. Now looking at Maiava again, just bringing it back to him, if you're Lincoln Riley, you still have to feel pretty good about your pupil here, right? Because he did one of the most important things that a quarterback can do in this kind of situation. He brought the team back. He made some big time throws. Is that something you think that do you think he has the mental resilience, Jayden Maiava, to overcome these losses and to keep, because Caleb Williams used to bring the team back a lot of times in these games. And a lot of times they beat these close losses, and you could sort of see the frustration build up in him over time. What kind of makeup do you think Jayden Maiava has as far as being able to get through some of these tough times that could potentially arise as the season goes on?
Yeah, we've seen him bounce back from some adversity. I think that Illinois game, you mentioned it. I mean, for them to trail the whole game, he threw his first pick. Unfortunately, they're really good running back, Wayman Jordan, fumbles on the opening drive, and you're down 7-0, and then you start realizing the defense isn't going to get a stop here. Yeah. And the fact that you're down and Illinois is going to get the ball to start the second half, it could have went really awry. They got a couple of really fortunate turnovers as Illinois was going to score. But that gave the opportunity to only be down 14. in the fourth quarter, and you're able to drive down and get a touchdown, go for two, which the analytics say that's a better chance of winning that way, and it works, and they end up getting the stop, and then Jayden Maiava drives again to the point where you probably scored too fast, right? Like the way the defense was playing, but 6 minutes left in the game, I thought he was really calm, cool, and collected, threw some great balls on that drive, found his stud, Mekhi Lemon, and Mekhi Lemon, and also Jacoby Lane came in and made some catches too. And that touchdown was a thing of beauty. The only issue was, did you need to throw a touchdown on 1st and 10 with 2 minutes left, or could you have run the ball a couple of times to try to use some clock? But he looked, to me, that was a game where the whole game was adversity. Like you were climbing out of a hole the entire time. And even with his first turnover of the season, I don't think he let it impact him. So I think Lincoln Riley has confidence that he can be the guy. I mean, there was a ton of adversity in that game, and it didn't look like there was a stretch, Chris, in the third quarter when he threw that pick that some of the throws were high. It didn't look like his feet were planted all the time. So it's brief, but he got it back, and still his overall numbers were good. If you have a few minutes of a stretch of a game where you just doesn't look like yourself, that's one thing. But they able to rally and come back from it. He didn't just turtle up and just go, "Oh, we're going to lose this game." He fought back from when he wasn't even playing well personally, and then had those two drives at the end, which were really special.
One name that keeps coming up in the discussion, Mekhi Lemon, just an outstanding receiver. I think he's in the top 5 nationally. I think he's 3rd nationally in receiving yards. Maybe is he a guy who could potentially challenge for the Heisman from the receiver role?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for receivers to do that stuff. He does return some kicks. He didn't in the Illinois game, I think, because Jacoby Lane was out. They don't want him to get hurt too. But he is special. He literally, Jeremiah Smith, obviously, just a freak of nature. And he's more of an Amon-Ra, St. Brown type, I think. But man, just watching his feet, the way he's able to make guys miss. He had a 75-yard touchdown catch taken away for a illegal man downfield penalty. This one, his numbers would have been even crazier. But a lot of USC fans are mentioning that. I think it would be really tough for him to kind of get into that conversation. But he is a special wide receiver. We've seen a lot of them at USC, and just the stuff he's able to do. It's pretty amazing to watch.
Okay, Ryan, what is, you're a Heisman voter. You've been a Heisman voter for over a decade now, I think. What is your criteria when you're looking at a Heisman Trophy winner? What do you typically do? Like, do you sit down at the end of the season and go over some notes, or do you have like a running list, or do you have like a running sort of tally of what are you paying attention as the season goes along specifically for Heisman, or do you wait till the end and kind of gather your thoughts from there?
I kind of like early season, just sort of like get a feel for the landscape. And then by mid-season, then you start having some candidates and taking some notes. And, I try to keep it more like, okay, I want to be reasonable and logical about it, and seeing what, every situation is, can be unique. I think I could be okay with if a defender was on there, if they're, forcing a lot of turnovers, or, scoring touchdowns on special teams and things like that. Like, I think Manti Te'o was one of the guys, before, and he didn't have it. I don't think he had any fumble recovery. I mean, there wasn't like a turnover aspect of it. I just was like a good player on a great Notre Dame team. So to me, it wouldn't have worked. But like Travis Hunter last year did things that we've never seen before. And to be an elite offensive player and elite defensive player, I had no problem putting him number 1. So I try to just kind of, the situations are different each week. I don't want it to be the quarterback of the number 1 team in the country. Like, we've seen that happen before. It could be, but I don't want it just because you're the quarterback of this team. That's amazing. That's steamrolling people. I think now there's so much parity, and there might not be the juggernauts that's the 15-0s and stuff anymore. You get the 2-loss.
You don't need to win all your games anymore, right?
No, you don't have
no incentive to, right?
So I think, that, and then how they're, how much they're, an important part of that team's success. And if it's a running back for like if it's like Western Kentucky's running back has 2,500 yards, like, you got to look at it, like, hey man, that's crazy. Sure. But I try to keep an open mind, and then start, making my list like mid-season, and, unique situations, I don't mind voting for them, to win. It's, Travis Hunter last year was crazy stuff.
Absolutely.
And, I like a guy like Ashton Jetty, I thought was awesome. I think I had him second on my ballot just because he was so special for a really good Boise State team. So,
well, Ryan Abraham of USCFootball.com, the unofficial mayor of Hermosa Beach, California. If you guys are ever in Hermosa Beach and you're down by the volleyball courts, he'll probably be there. So thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate your insight on USC and Jayden Maiava, and we'll see you around.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
All right, that's going to do it for this week's show. Thanks to Katie Ryan of USC for facilitating our interview with Jayden Maiava. Thanks to Ryan Abraham for coming on the show. The check's in the mail, buddy. Thanks again to all our new listeners. Hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and check out our videos over on YouTube and TikTok, and we will see you next week. The Heisman Trophy podcast streams every Wednesday during the college football season and is hosted, produced, edited, and engineered by Chris Houston. The pod is available on all streaming networks, including Spotify and Apple Music, and features video interviews and bonus content on YouTube and TikTok. We also have a Reddit community. Special shout out to Isaac Lowenkron, and big thanks to Rob Whalen, Tim Henning, and the Heisman Trust for their support. Reach out to us via email at pod@heisman.com for feedback and commentary.